Nicholle Davies has been the executive director of the Charleston County Public Library since September of 2016. In this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I speak exclusively with her one-on-one. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores.
Well, Nicholle, it's so good to see you again.
It's good to see you as well.
I appreciate this. You know, the last time I saw you was last year.
Yes.
When I was the Master of Ceremonies for the Black Ink Festival here. And I know that you've been busy since then. And I know you're greeting me right now on a couple of events going on here at the library. The Bookmobile just returned. And you guys launched a voter registration drive here as well for many people in Charleston County. What is it like to be you, Director of Charleston County Public Library right now?
I have a fantastic job. I love what I do. The premise of a public library is that we're one of, in my opinion, one of the last true places of equality in our country. So in theory, when you walk through the doors of a public library, if everything's going well, we should be treating everybody equally, helping people break down barriers, getting access to information, and changing lives. And there's something to be said about that in 2018. There's a pureness to that work that gets me excited about what I do every day.
And you talk about changing lives. Your life actually changed in 2016, that is in September 2016, when you were named the Executive Director for the Charleston County Public Library. And Andy Pratt, the chair of the library's Board of Trustees, says this, quote, "Charleston is blessed to have a library leader of Nichole's stature, the sterile system, and the transformational years ahead of us." So what are those transformational years like in your mind?
Well, in 2014, you know that the voters here said yes to a $108.5 million bond initiative at a 74% approval rating. And that's amazing to have that kind of support in a community. So I'm coming into a community that already said yes, we support and we love our public libraries. The work that we're doing with that money is to build 5 new buildings and then to go back and renovate 13 existing buildings. So right there, that's a tremendous amount of work. And that's very exciting because what we'll be able to do in those facilities will be reaching more people, providing greater services, providing more diversity in the service that we can offer. And then we'll hopefully be able to go back and do additional work, bringing our older buildings a little bit more up to speed in terms of technology and just some of the aesthetics to those buildings. But with this opportunity, with the growth and the expansion of our system, we're also being very intentional about making sure that we're focusing on outreach opportunities. So even though we're going to grow from 16 branches to 18 branches, which will be wonderful, we still can't assume all of our patrons or the folks that even need us can get to a brick and mortar facility. Mm-hmm. So we're going to be really ramping up our outreach. So we're hoping to secure a new bookmobile.
Oh, yes.
We have asked for that in our budget, and I'm hopeful that that's going to happen.
Okay.
We need a new bookmobile. And then my hope is also that we're going to grow our service so that we won't just have one bookmobile, but we'll have multiple other vehicles that can meet people at their point of need. Not all of our patrons can make it physically to a facility, and not all of our patrons have, they're either limited through transportation means or they're limited physically. So we want to be able to meet them where they are. We launched a new website last year, at the end of last year, and while a website's important, it's really critical for a public library to have a good website because that's really how we meet our virtual users. Mm-hmm. We have so much downloadable content. We want that to be easy to navigate. And so I think our website is another way that we're doing outreach in a different way. So outreach will be part of that. Our new buildings will be part of that. Safety and security will be part of that. So lots of exciting things on the horizon.
Exactly right. And you know, obviously you were the 2016 Librarian of the Year. And I know I was reading the article just a few minutes ago. Obviously you're a great communicator. What else can you communicate to the folks of Charleston County right now about the future of the library system?
That we're here to stay. No fear of the public library going anywhere in this community. We're here, we're growing, we're expanding, and I think our patrons are going to be incredibly surprised with what they find in our new buildings and in our existing buildings. So some of our new approaches to doing library service will feel a little bit different, and I think it's going to be exciting for people to think differently about the public library.
And I know when you were out west, you basically developed really 4 pillars of a library system. What are your 4 pillars for the Charleston County Public Library system right now?
Well, we're developing that together. The board adopted a new strategic vision in September of 2017, which really gives us our marching orders for the next 3 years.
Sure.
A big piece of that, not only in building these buildings and redesigning our existing buildings, will also be around customer service. And so we're making sure that when our patrons are coming in, they're having their needs met. You know, recently we've gone through some training, and we discovered that 65% of people will not ask for help in a retail type of environment.
Sure.
So if you take that principle and think about the public library, we need to be meeting our patrons at their point of need. So if they're struggling in a computer, we need to be going over and finding out what's going on. If they're having a hard time finding something in the stacks, we need to meet them there and help them navigate. So we're going to be doing a more of a proactive service approach in our facilities that will start to roll out later this year, so that our patrons are not going to wait for you to come to them, or our staff isn't going to wait for you to come to them, but rather our staff is going to go find the patrons where they are.
Right. And obviously, I talked about your time out west. Let's talk about it. What was it like for you to be director of the Arrowpool Library District?
Well, it was an incredibly impactful time in my life, and I grew up actually in Arapahoe County, so that was home for me. And I had the good fortune of working with that system for 12 years and serving as executive director for 4 of them. It's a wonderful system with very talented people, and we were doing some very innovative things there that was really meeting the focus of the community that I was serving. So it's a very different landscape in Colorado than it is here, and some of the needs and the demands are different. And so just being very respectful of the different communities that you live and work in, making sure that the public library services are responsive to those needs.
Yeah.
So it was a wonderful time.
And you talk about time. Obviously, you and I have something in common: communication and journalism. That's something you've done for a long time. What is the state of that right now in your mind?
The state of journalism?
Yes, ma'am.
I think it's an interesting time for that profession. I did work in television news for a few years as a news producer, and it was interesting because I feel like in some ways there are parallels between librarianship and journalism, in that these are both 2 industries that have faced a tremendous amount of change in the last 10 to 15 years. When I was working in journalism, it was very different. It was something that you did pursue a degree in, and there was a career path. Now I feel like with so many people being able to do their own journalism work, and it's not the traditional television stations, newspapers, radio stations that there once were, I think it's opened up the playing field significantly in a lot of ways. I also think traditional journalism, I think it's harder to find well-researched, well-vetted content.
Right.
And so actually in a lot of ways, that's where I feel very privileged to work in a public library, because we are a trusted resource where we can help navigate the information landscape so that you can get trusted, reliable content by working with librarians, so that you know what is good content. I think it can be incredibly intimidating for people, the amount of content that's out there, trying to navigate to know what is accurate, what is true, what is reliable. And so I think the public library actually serves a very important role now that journalists used to do, play for us, in that sometimes it's hard to navigate what is true journalism.
And if I were to walk out this door here and go out into the actual library, what would you take me to as far as your favorite section at the library?
Ooh, I can't have a favorite section. I will tell you that I think what is really unique about CCPL, and we're sitting in the main library right now, so I think it's extraordinary that we have the South Carolina room, that we have archivists, that we have PhDs on staff who do amazing work in the area of archives and genealogy and research into our area. Not every public library has that, so I feel like we're incredibly blessed to have that here at CCPL. On days where my job is really hard, I'll sometimes sneak over to Children's and just watch our amazing staff connecting with our youngest of patrons, really, seeding those pre-reading skills and pre-literacy skills that kids need to be successful when they hit kindergarten. So, I'm an avid reader myself. I read a lot of nonfiction and fiction. I'm probably a little partial to fiction most days. because life is pretty real already.
Right.
So I can't say that I have a true favorite section. It's like having a favorite child. I don't
Right,
have one.
right.
But there are just different places within each branch that depending on the mood, there's always something to meet that need here.
You're right about that. And if you were to take off your library hat, how would you describe Nicholle Davies, the person?
I am a hopeless optimist. I'm very optimistic in all things that I do in life.
Sure.
And I feel like that's an asset most of the time. It can be a little disheartening because I feel like the world can let you down some days when you're ever the optimist. But I feel like I rally pretty quickly in coming back from things too. So yeah, I mean, I'm very optimistic. I love my family. I have 3 amazing kids, an incredibly supportive husband. We have 2 rescue dogs that we have picked up since we moved to South Carolina, who bring me great joy. I have an amazing extended family that supports all that I've done and really are my true cheerleaders, and great friends, and I've been very fortunate.
That is so good to hear. So write the headline for me. Nicholle Davies will do what in the next 5 years?
Oh. I will continue to be an outspoken advocate for public libraries. That I can tell you. I'm very passionate about the work that we do, and I'm very passionate about breaking down antiquated perceptions of my profession.
Okay. Wow. To be continued.
To be continued.
Nicholle Davies, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate this.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to come and visit with me.
Likewise. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.